Hello everyone! In my last video, I showed you how to specify different conversion target values per row of a Power Pivot depending on the customer type. To switch between the target values, I use a simple if statement because there are only two different conversion targets. For A customers, the conversion target was 80%, and for other rows, only 60%. So if there was a single customer type in the filter context of the row, and this customer type equal to 8 customers, then the conversion target would be 0.8, else 0.6. But what if each customer type had a different conversion target value? Then I would have to use several nested if functions like this. The function if has several arguments. The first is the logical test or condition. The second is the result if true. And the third is the else result if false. So if there are several conditions, then the third argument has to be another if function. And we will get such a cascade of nested if functions. If there are multiple conditions, then the formula could become hard to read and to modify. So I'm going to show you an alternative function that Power BI and Power Pivot Pros use. And that is a function switch. The function switch evaluates the expression in its first argument, which should return a single value, against a list of values and returns the result corresponding to the first matching value. So the other arguments of this function are pairs of values to match and their corresponding outcomes to be returned. An optional default value can also be included in case there's no match. So this function can have an even or odd number of arguments. Here you can see the customer type values that are in the filter context of each row. At the level of the grand total, team and sales rep, there are several customer types. Let's add a new conversion target measure using the function switch. The expression in the first argument of the function switch should return a single value. So let's use the function max for aggregating the customer type column. Then, for each customer type, I will specify the conversion target. 0.8 for A customers, 0.55 for B customers, and 0.5 for C customers, else 0.6. Let's format the numbers as percentage. Now the problem is that at the level of grand total, team and sales rep, C customers will always be the maximal customer type. So I need a condition to differentiate between these rows and rows with only C customers in the filter context. Also, because of the measure, extra rows appeared that were not in the fact table before, with the default target value of 60%. So the default value in the formula should have been blank. To use the function switch with conditions instead of matching the values, the expression in its first argument has to return true. As soon as a condition in one of the other arguments of this function is met, meaning it is true, the corresponding result will be given back. The order of the conditions is very important because the function returns the result of the first true condition. else the default value will be given back. So in the formula, as the first argument of switch, I will use the function true. As the first condition, I will specify that if the customer type column does not have a single value, and that should be at the levels of the grand total, team, and sales rep, then the conversion target should be 0.6. So this condition will account for all rows with multiple customer types. Then in the next condition, if customer type equals to 8 customers, the target should be 0.8, and so on. Please note that instead of the function contains row, like in the formula with 2 target values, I am simply using equals 2, because by the time that the function gets to evaluate this step, there should only be a single customer type in the filter context. So the function values will return a single customer type. Otherwise, at the levels of the grand total, team, and sales rep, the function values would return a one-column table with several customer types. As the default value, I will specify 0.5, which is target for customer type C customers. But there is one more point to consider here. Not has one value of the customer type column will return true also when there was no entry for a customer type and there are no sales, calls, and therefore conversion. When used in a KPI, this was fine, but in a report, it creates an extra row. So in the target measure, I will need to bring back the condition for C customers so that the default value is blank, and add an additional condition that conversion has to be more than 0, meaning that numbers should exist. The double ampersands mean and. So this condition will differentiate all rows with multiple customer types, and it should come first. So the order of the conditions in the function matters. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this.